not a streaming problem. Thank you for your patience, folks. So, here we are. We're going to go live.
And I believe we are live. Tuesday Night Live with Warren Zanes here at Little City Books in Hoboken, New Jersey. That's me calling. That's me calling you from the stage. Anyway, thanks for tuning in Tuesday night, folks, and thanks for the crowd here, the sellout crowd at Little City Books. So anyway, Warren Zanes, I've known you for a long time. I met you when on your first tour, I think.
Oh wow!
When you don't even remember.
I didn't know.
I was not even. My name is still Fred. I was a big fan of Embarrassment, so I came to see Woody. When you guys played in Wichita, and
I was probably trying to pick up your girlfriend.
You probably succeeded.
That's where I was at.
but long ago, yeah, it was really, it was and I just have to say that, I just gotta say it. You are one of the most accomplished people I've ever met. And I'm very, I'm just amazed at your accomplishments, my friend. So let's talk about some of them. First of all, you were in the Delfreitos. You guys did great. You had the run,
Yeah. This is the moment where I actually got to plug a gig because we're playing in Montclair on December 18th, playing New York City December 19th, Boston December 20th.
Oh, shit, yeah. Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of years between those days and these days, but we've done a couple shows. We played in Barcelona last spring, and we had fun. We didn't fight too much.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So the years have mellowed that. That's just obvious, right?
Everybody's got kids and dogs and ex-wives, and it's just, you go through enough that you become a gentler species.
Yeah, you do. So is Woody in the band?
Woody is not here for these shows.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But he has been playing with you?
We did, the last one was in Barcelona.
Barcelona, that's not bad.
But it's the three guys up front are the same guys, and they just look a little different.
Yeah, well, that's bound to happen. But so I just, there's stuff I really want to talk about. Of course, and we're here kind of, for, this is probably your gazillionth appearance promoting Deliver Me From Nowhere. But this is another one then. You're going to have to talk about another because I have some I knew about, well, first of all, just a synopsis for folks who haven't read the book or haven't seen the excellent movie, or folks out there. Warren wrote, it's a journalistic book, it's not fiction, about Bruce Springsteen. We'll talk about the photo later. But coming off of the River tour at the height of his, at that point, just a big hit with the Hungry Heart, and just kind of like secluding himself away at a ranch house in New Jersey and making Nebraska, but not intending to do anything but just make demos.
Yeah, it's the only official Springsteen release that he made not knowing he was making an official release.
Which means, and you say in the book, that it couldn't sound the way it does if he had intended it.
Yeah, there's an absence of self-consciousness when you think no one else is going to hear it. And it's hard to put a name on what that element is that's there when the self-consciousness goes. But every time he tried to re-record these songs that he put down onto a 4-track cassette multi-track machine, he felt like he was losing something. And though this isn't in the movie, one way he described what he was losing to me in our interviews was he felt he was losing the characters in the songs. And I think that's that's really, really important in understanding where he was at that point in his life, because the characters in his songs on Nebraska were one to the next, desperate people, people out at the margins of society, not coming back.
It was they were all dark.
Yeah.
And there were a couple that were kind of like hell-raising, but still,
Yeah, well, you look at State Trooper, and it raises some hell, but it also is a hell.
But Pink Cadillac, that's like...
Yeah, but not on Nebraska.
Not on Nebraska.
But there are songs from those sessions.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
The demo that were parceled out.
Yeah, it didn't make it to Nebraska, but the demo.
Yes. I mean, same with Born in the USA. Born in the USA is a version from those sessions.
Yes.
That's the one he said in his interviews. If he could have put one thing on both Born in the USA and Nebraska, it would be Born in the USA.
Start out. That's too ballsy to start out with, but I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Or at least, you're right.
He felt what it would do is lift the confusion about Born in the USA, thinking of particularly Reagan's misreading of it as this kind of unabashed patriotic anthem, which it wasn't. It was not that it was unpatriotic, but it was a complicated America, very different from
Well,
Reagan.
it was an angry. There were a lot of angry vets at that time. The version that is from those sessions did not appear then.
No, didn't appear until the tracks, outtakes.
The outtakes, and so when I heard it, I was blown away with it. To me, it's honestly almost the best song on the damn record, and it's hard to say that because I have so many favorites on that record. But if you had put that on Nebraska, it would have blown people's minds even more. Yeah. And then put it out in that incredible version, whatever the rock anthemic version that they did,
Yeah, it's funny. I was just looking at a review of Nebraska. Not a review, an article about Nebraska from 1982, the year it came out. And the title was Springsteen's Acoustic LP Meets with Mixed Reviews. And this is in Rolling Stone. And they don't tend to go negative on Bruce. But I think we forget over time, because Nebraska has risen and become this emblem of all of its best in Springsteen. But it didn't start that way. I mean, it's taken decades for people to kind of understand it first and then admire it and then go, whoa, this might be his best. Didn't happen the first year it came out.
There's not a person who expected good things of it, even Bruce.
Yeah.
And but he was completely driven, and it shows a real side of him. He admits it. And he's obviously, like, it's showing the film, he's tapping his hand all the time. He's an obsessive workaholic kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right? And so that combined with his artistic integrity, he's like, I want it just like this, man. And I can't imagine Nebraska sounding different now. Even though it went through so much trouble. In the book, they show, you display it. You can't really put it in the movie, but God, they just try everything to get this sweet 4-track or stereo mixtape. I'm sorry.
Yeah, on some level, to avoid putting that out, they tried everything, and it just kept coming back. But, I think it reads as artistic integrity, and Bruce has profound artistic integrity, but I don't think that's what was compelling him. I really think it was the connection to the characters, and he was in a spot. There's the saying, you deal with your past, or your past will deal with you. And that's the crossroads he was at. And there was something about those songs, being close to those characters, that he just had to do. So the compulsion was much more on his internal state of affairs than it was in looking at Nebraska as a piece of art. I think that's my take.
That's a good interpretation. He came off the River Tour and went into kind of, I don't know, what would you say that he it was building up during the tour and just released all this kind of this overwhelming.
One thing that I like that the movie captures,
darkness.
he comes off the road, he goes into an isolation, like Max Weinberg said. I'm in his band, I didn't know where he lived.
Yeah.
That's a statement right there.
Mm-hmm.
But he's nonetheless making these efforts. It's almost like if you're dealing with depression, the depression is on the other side of this kind of wall, and it's a human thing to try to keep it there. So he's jumping on stage at the Stone Pony all the time. He's getting involved with someone. He's doing everything he can to kind of keep that wall up, and it just stops working. And he says, in his words, his rock and roll meds were no longer doing what they needed to do. And the wall comes down. And it's a kind of profound depressive episode that you could call a breakdown.
It seems like you did have a breakdown in that drive west. Well, you did have a breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was so, so famous. The story of the We Are the World session, where he flies into Burbank or whatever, rents a car, drives to A&M Studios himself in a rented car, parks on the street, even though they have valet parking, and he's the reason that most of the artists, all the big artists, wanted to do We Are the World.
Yeah.
Even like Dylan or like Stevie is like, is Bruce in? I'm in,
Yeah,
so
there was an article in Esquire that I'm citing in the book, and one of the organizers said it was hard getting that group together until Bruce signed on, and then everybody wanted to do it.
What artist is it? Michael Jackson, or who is it that takes the empty beer can?
Michael Jackson gets his picture taken with Springsteen's empty Budweiser can. And my point in the book is like, when that happens, your career is going well.
It's going real well, man. So I could see where that could lead to a breakdown for anybody. Look at Kurt Cobain,
Yeah,
he was given too much.
But again, I really think it was the childhood trauma.
The childhood, yeah.
And I think he's in this moment where he's really seeing that again what he calls his rock and roll meds are not keeping that from fucking with his adult life. Mm-hmm. And he's seeing that he's not keeping relationships together. The things he wants for himself in life, having kids, having a partner, he's starting to get the feeling like he might not be a person who can have those things. And
it's kind of like he wants it all. Gotta admit, he wants.
Is there anybody in this room who doesn't want it all?
No, but I mean, like, and I know he should, but I mean, like, he's expecting, like, he's going to have all this happen and then still be okay in the head. And I'm saying this positively because the man is such a deep, introspective, and insightful writer that you can't help imagine how he thinks about his own life.
Yeah. Nebraska helped me to listen to all of his catalog. Mm-hmm. So like I was in my NYU class today, I made them listen to Racing in the Street. And when you get to the protagonist in the song talking about the woman he's living with and time has passed, now there's wrinkles around my baby's eyes. She's a Nebraska character. Mm-hmm. You can look through and find these hopeless individuals. The protagonist often has that shred of redemptive possibility. But we do see these characters who appear who are Nebraskan.
Like the Flannery O'Connor No Redemption that character that you reference in the book.
Yeah,
there isn't a happy ending.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the movie, there's a couple diner scenes where you see Bruce, Jeremy Allen White, looking at the faces of people in the diners. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's a very, very subtle move on the director Scott Cooper's part. It's like Bruce is collecting these people in his songs, in his experiences out in the world, And for that moment, they are his people. And so when he said, in trying to re-record it, he lost his characters, he couldn't lose them. That is the basis
in the
for
recording.
the choice.
They didn't appear in other recordings of the same songs. Which I could see. That's such a ghostly sounding recording. It's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
The way to, it's great that he made Nebraska, but that ain't how you do it. And it's clearly how he did it. And very radical, and yet sounds absolutely contemporary. It's always going to sound contemporary. It's haunting beyond belief, and sounds pretty good.
There's a Christian Dior fashion show, Summer 2026 collection, and it was in Paris, and it was in this massive room painted white with 2 still life paintings by Chardin, one from the Louvre, one from another major collection. And people who go to fashion shows lined up. And they start with the male models. And the male models come out, and all of them 7.5 feet tall, in the 2026 collection. And they play State Trooper.
Oh, man.
And they edited it so the screams at the end are at the top of the song. Wow. And I sent it to Bruce, and I said, whoever picked this is like right on the money, because the faces of the male models looked different because of the song. But the amazing thing to me is the capacity of this Nebraska material to travel like that, to show up at a fashion show and nobody throws it out. It lifts it.
Yeah, this is the original recording. Still sounding great.
Yeah, yeah.
Next on a water-damaged Panasonic boombox.
Yeah, I mean, for the musician community, it's definitely a don't try this yourself.
Don't try this yourself, but it's beyond, it's the myth.
Yeah.
It's one of the myths. I want to first see what the folks are saying about the sound. I've always having sound trouble here. Folks, are you hearing me? I hope you are out there. Hard to hear the sound. Well, it's up all the way. And so I got to find a sound guy because I have the sound up all the way. I'm going to turn it up all the way now and tell me how it distorts. It's all going to be distorted. So anyway, but thanks for tuning in, you folks online. I can't get the sound right. I don't know what we do. So sorry to interrupt there, but I do need to check into my good friends online here. I have a question about. Have you ever thought that someone has, and I'm sure someone has, recreated the Nebraska setup somewhere and tried it?
Oh, yeah. No, I hear from people, from these obsessive types.
Obsessive guys. They get a Panasonic boombox and they soak it in water and dry it out.
Yeah, the best I can do is cheer them on. But you can't find another man's Nebraska. You can only find your own. And so
I think the idea of trying to at least get the tone is pretty cool. Another haunting moment from that whole the technical side of it is the boombox itself, which they were canoeing or something and it got wet and stopped working. It was in the house, and then suddenly one night it started playing again. Some song, right? Just like it turned on again magically.
Yeah, this was,
and it's really ghost-like.
Yeah, but what I really love, and this also tells you about Bruce at that time. So he's canoeing with Gary Talent. Water comes up onto the boom box. It dies, and then he puts it on his couch. Like
let it sit there.
It doesn't work. He doesn't think it's going to work again, but that's where it's going to live. It's like I just identify with that's the kind of thing I would do at a particular age.
It's got to sit somewhere. It's got to be somewhere.
I think I'll just put it right here, and then I'll sit next to it. And one thing that isn't in the movie and is not in the book that he shared later is that he watched, I think it's One Life to Live. There was a soap opera that he watched, and he would tape it so that he didn't miss it.
Oh, he was into his stories.
But it's both him at work because it is stories, but it's also a reprieve because they're not they're stories where you know exactly
You know what's coming, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun. So that's his way to cleanse his mind, maybe, is to watch soap operas or something.
But this is the artist of my lifetime. He's a big one, and there he is sitting next to a broken boombox, watching one life to live. Like, I couldn't ask for more.
You really couldn't ask for a better image. Do you? I know the folks. Well, just lots of static. Okay. Well, I guess I really apologize for this.
We're here for you.
No, we're the folks live here are getting a show, and I just can't know what to tell you. Anyway, but would you have a song for us?
Yeah. So like it's been some busy days. So I thought a little bit about this, and I thought, I'm going to play some of my own stuff. I don't do this that much, however much I enjoy it. But thinking about, Springsteen and Petty have been two guys that matter deeply to me that I was lucky enough to write about. But with Springsteen, I picked up on the detail from him. Like with my same NYU students today, I played Sandy. And I remember being in New Hampshire, and I was the youngest of three, and the Wild, the Innocent, and the E Street Shuffle was the first one that kind of told us that Bruce belonged to us.
Yeah.
And Sandy had these incredible details. It wasn't love, love me do. It was a place, it was people, it was these specifics, and a lot of them, like, I'd never seen a boardwalk. I lived in New Hampshire, but I could see the place, and I wasn't that far off. So much like Chekhov in short stories, or Zola, a lot of the French, the Russian writers, they give you detail, and you can see these worlds that you might never have visited. And Bruce is a great detail writer. Now, this song doesn't sound like Bruce at all. It's the first song on my divorce record, and it's called Walmart, and it's dated because, well, you'll see some of the things I mentioned, but it's I do a slightly longer version, but it's basically a minute long on the record, and it opens it. Did you lose your patience in Walmart Sunday? Did you get no interest on Match.com on Monday? Oh, the kids are waiting in the car. Sometimes you drift so far away they don't know where you are. The car just got a dent, you even know just where you are. Sometimes you drift so far away they don't know where you are. The car just got a dent, you even know just where you are. Oh, the kids are waiting in the car. Sometimes you drift so far away you don't know where you are. The car just got a dent, you even know just where you are.
Sounds like a great song.
It really, when I made the divorce record, it was like most of my books now, quite honestly. It's done for my kids. And it's like...
What, as an explanatory thing? Or
it's the time capsule. Rather than just leave them with, Dad was a little fucked up for a few years, like, give them a record. And you might get some sympathies out of it.
That's funny. Well, what do they think of it? Have they listened to it? How many kids do you have?
I got two boys, 21, 23, Piero
Wow.
and Lucian. And I bring those guys around with me a lot. Piero in particular has come here a couple times, I think. But sometimes I get them out there selling CDs, and you'll see them out there going, I recommend the Divorce CD if you're going to get one.
You're only going to get one. It's the darkest.
Yeah, it's the darkest, but I think it's also for them, which gets you the better songs, the good times or the bad times. I'm going to say the bad times.
I think that's pretty obvious by now,
Yeah.
I mean, Celebrate Good Times, come on. It's pretty good, but...
Yeah.
So I wanted to move back to well, first of all, I hope if you guys are getting any sound out there in web land, just let me know. I really hope you are. But I wanted to get back to Nebraska because when it came out, I feel like everybody, it seemed really punk rock as hell to me, like Bruce Springsteen. I loved Hungry Heart anyway, but I expected another Hungry Heart, and it was just very cool. And then it sounded so cool, and we didn't know these stories about how it was made at all. The myth that I heard was that he had a 4-track, and he had a 4-track, and he was driving through Nebraska, recorded it.
Oh, I
that
never
was
heard
always
that.
the story I always heard, but it wasn't done on a 4-track clearly. But the real story is much more complicated.
Yeah, because he didn't do any interviews, people started telling stories about
That's what
its
it was.
origin.
He didn't do any interviews. But the fact that an artist who was so big that he would draw people to the biggest benefit song, produced by Quincy Jones, does a record like that is a huge statement, and it was a leg up for other musicians to go ahead and give them the truth.
Yeah, I mean, when I did the book, I knew I needed to get musician voices in there talking about their reception. So, Richard Thompson, Patty Griffin, Steve Earle. There were a few, and it wasn't because they have any connection to the making of Nebraska, but to know that for Richard Thompson, like his take was, Bruce Springsteen has the dilemma of multiple gifts. He's a great performer. He's a great guitar player, a lot better than a lot of people even realize.
He started out as a lead guy, right?
Yeah, like before in the steel mill period, it was the age of the power trio. So it was Cream and Hendrix, and he was very studied in that way. But Richard was just trying to make the point, like this guy has these gifts, and at that point in time, in the wake of No Nukes in particular, a lot of people were just talking about the shows, the performance, and then Nebraska came, and for Richard it was like the songwriter.
The song.
That's the most important part among these multiple gifts.
That's a very, very good point. You would think at the time, and I maybe thought at the time, that it was a move that kind of like another great artist, I'm not really making a comment, but the great Bob will often do things just because you don't want him to, and I think that's probably just the way his creativity works, But with Bruce, that's how I was thinking that he was approaching Nebraska, but it wasn't that. It was almost like the record was saying, I'm coming out somehow, Bruce, we're all gonna do this.
Yeah,
the music was truly like in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. I think that's almost how it has to be viewed, because my sense of Bruce himself is that he's not putting himself in the position of the authority who had some kind of blueprint. He's watching this album go into the world and do things that he did not himself anticipate.
Yeah.
So he's got this. There's a measure of humility in that relationship to the art, but he made something that he called an accident start to finish. So he didn't know what was kind of governing it.
he was that creative. He was just working. Maybe not even thinking about what he was working on. Maybe. But it came out in a very dark way. But anyway, the actual recording was hugely influential in a way that I guess he might have thought he expected, but like he didn't check on the charting of the record for a few weeks, right? He called John, and John said, "How's it doing?"
Yeah, he called his manager, John Landau, who's such an important character in this story in particular. And John was like, it's in the top 10, and that was the only time. John says that's the only time he's asked about chart position.
The only time of any record. That's funny as hell.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if Taylor Swift put out a record of home demos that she did on a home cassette today? I wonder what.
I would buy it.
I would think it would be cool as hell.
Yeah.
But her fans would be like, "What are you doing?"
I was asking my students if they've had artists who have departed too much from whatever the previous release was. One of them said Billie Eilish's second record. It was too different, and they felt they just couldn't believe it. The shift was too great. The other said Post Malone going country. And there's
you gotta
some,
admit, the face tattoos in the country are funny as heck.
but there's some unwritten rule of, that's written not by artists but by fans of, you can go over there, not that far.
Yeah.
Come a little closer.
Sure.
And it makes sense. And I feel like the Beatles established the template for a lot of people. And so you can see Rubber Soul into Revolver and go like, okay, I still see the connective tissue. When you go the river to Nebraska, you don't see the connective tissue. A little bit in the storytelling, stolen car, wreck on the highway, they're pointing somewhere. But mostly, it's the kind of deviation that when put in the fans' hands needs at least to be explained in interviews,
you would think,
or taken on the road so the artist can help the fans build a relationship with the material. And in not doing that, that's where you kind of cut the connective tissue.
But it also was an incredible act of faith in his integrity and his fans. It's like somebody must have said, "We think we'll be fine." Like at one point, they're like, "We're only going to sell like 1 million of these, or half." What did the guy Al?
Well,
this thing won't even do 1 million. It's like,
to
jeez.
John Landau today, and he loves to just keep repeating it. It's our worst selling record.
Worst selling record, but no one can say, and I don't think anyone in the book says so, and maybe I don't think you call anybody out. No one can say, "Oh, I knew it was going to be a hit from the start." Nobody.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But the other thing is, like, Bruce, when I did CBS Sunday Morning with him, he said,
"Cool.
50 years from now, if you're going to pick one thing that represents me, it's probably going to be Nebraska."
I think so, sure.
So there's these other measures, like...
Matt, Wonder Run is some of the greatest tracks that have ever been recorded, But you're...
Bruce, it's Warren. I got free here. That thing you said on CBS Sunday Morning. Can I give him your cell?
Oh, man. Don't give him my cell. I think that's true. And so, I just want to briefly apply it to our world. And maybe the Del Fuegos went through this. Maybe you went through it. I've listened. Your records are made like multi-track records like I make, And I've always had the desire to get real. It's like I'm working with Kevin Salem now on my new recordings. And he said, "Oh yeah, you always go in the studio like this Neanderthal. You're just going to give it to him real. By the end, you're like Steely Dan. Just because you're just tired of the bum notes, And it just happens every time. And so in the case of Bruce, he's like, there's no... And, I just don't know that always works to strip it away.
Yeah, well,
It's really, in the case of Nebraska, it was, I don't know, he wasn't really planning to do that.
yeah. Well, I'm not trying to sell books here, but if you do get my
You gotta
book,
read the book. Yeah, you gotta read the book.
you can see the copy of the letter that he wrote to John Landau when he gave him the tape. So nobody's heard this stuff. He's sending John the tape, and the letter is so filled with self-doubt.
Self-effacing stuff.
Yeah, he's like Highway Patrolman, which to me is like one of the greatest songs ever written.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Just feel like I'm coming up short." He doesn't have that sense like that he's got something very special, and that's why I say that's more evidence that something else was driving him and insisting that this go into the world.
Something. Maybe it's the same thing that turned that set player on in the middle of the night. Seriously. But yeah, the
Ouija boards on like everything's coming back to the world beyond.
And the electric. We were talking about the electric remakes that they tried to do.
Yeah.
For what would be born in the USA, and the songs don't. It's like, yeah, they're gone. The songs are gone.
But they're really interesting. Like Open All Night, I'll give as an example. Yeah. It's not Born in the USA. It's not Nebraska. It's a 3-piece. Bruce, drums, and I think it might be Roy. But it's this small combo. It has a real rockabilly feel. But it's recorded at the power station. And to me, the surprise was that he could have made a great record in that direction.
Sure.
Born in the USA, great record. Nebraska, great record. What person going through difficult times internally makes even one good record? Mm-hmm. Like that, he's got 3 broad avenues he could go down, and he's coming apart internally. Like this is what makes a Bruce Springsteen, is somebody who's working so hard no matter the weather.
He means it. He means it. You know, the boss really means it. And so when he says he comes up short on a song, it means like, well, he sees something beyond that. It's like, okay, Bruce, if you do, that's fine, but it's great like it is. Like he can't get to what he's the perfection that he is striving for, and so that shows that he's the real deal.
Yeah, there's in an interview with Max Weinberg, not for this, but we were just talking about when Max joined the E Street Band, and kind of getting into the culture of that. And at one point, Max was mentioning something that was happening on the charts. You know, there was some musical phenomenon out there, and Bruce just looked at him and said, "It doesn't really apply to us, because we're in the Bruce Springsteen business." Meaning, we can be detached from that.
Yeah.
If we follow that, we're going to be missing something over here, and it's better if we just hedge our bets and stick with the stuff we're doing, and not use that as the measure. And Nebraska is the prime example of that.
Doing your own thing.
Yeah.
I want to see if it is hard to think of artists.
Sorry, folks. Sorry for the sound. That could move.
I'm not worried about the sound. I'm looking over and thinking, it's my hair.
Your hair's
how's my hair looking?
Your hair's looking great, man.
Okay.
But the only artist I can really think of who successfully was able to move with the fashions was Bowie. He would just change every time with whatever was actually going on. But it wouldn't make sense for Bruce to respond that way. He did change. Everybody, every artist changes. But but he wasn't trying to jump any train.
Yeah, I mean, no one is working in a vacuum. That is for certain. I was talking to him for a Mojo piece that I did on the Electric Nebraska, and talking about records that sound like they belong to another time, but you're not sure what time that is. and Nebraska clearly, it's got that quality. I said, what are others? And Astral Weeks came up,
Sure.
and then the Columbia's, official release of the Basement Tapes, the 2-record set. When that came, it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Where
real,
is that
very real.
from?
And All Things Must Pass. But I think Nebraska will always be, well, it's clearly all records will be somebody's favorite record, but it will be greatly favored by Bruce fans always. And I agree with you. In 50 years, when people are still living among the smoking ruins here, but in 50 years you would look back and you might not be able to tell if it's from the 50s, 60s, or 70s, or 80s. It's like, it sounds like it's from back in that era, but you wouldn't be able to pinpoint it because of the recording quality. It could be from the 50s easily,
Yeah, and some of the references situated.
The references are
Yeah, you say, wait, okay, there's Bob's Big Boy. There's the radio towers.
It was his dad's life that he was referencing. I realized, where you say that in the book. I mean, first of all, Bruce was old enough to see Elvis on Ed Sullivan in 1956. He said, right? So that's a pretty deep connection,
Yeah. So the movie focuses on the father, the mother. In the book, Bruce said the time he's going back to in Nebraska is the time that he lived with his grandparents.
His grandparents.
Yeah, so after he was born, he's the first grandchild. They move in with his father, Douglas's parents. Now, the significance there is in that house. And the passages in his memoir are really stunning passages, rattling, beautiful. But in that house, over the TV, there's a portrait of his Aunt Virginia, his father's sister, who was killed at age 6 on her tricycle in Freehold. And the grandparents, it's like they don't have the capacity to grieve. It's almost like the grief they needed to express is just repressed, but then becomes the energy defining the household.
Apathy.
When Bruce comes, their kind of tribute to this lost daughter is to withhold all discipline from Bruce. And he can stay up late, he can defy parents, he can do what he wants. It's His Majesty the baby.
It's something that you wouldn't know about him because he's such a, nice. I mean, truly is. I mean, you know him. But Steve Hicks is a real empathetic, good guy.
Yeah,
well, who would help you change your tire, kind of person. And to think that for the first 6 years of his life, he had no discipline. Like a kid from a commune or something. He said, I could stay up anytime I wanted. I could, could run around.
Yeah, but the contradictions are multiple because it's like no discipline, but in one of the kind of most dilapidated houses on the block. And then, in his words, he said, it was the making of me and it was the destruction.
It's very well put, Bruce. Yeah, because it really was. It's a powerful story. I was playing with the Smithereens, I guess, somewhere in Jersey, and there was someone that I know it was Pat Museo's concert down in I forget where. It was at a theater, and we were talking about Bruce. And she said, "Oh yeah, I went to school with Bruce." Really? Yeah, and he was like a year under me. He was really poor.
Yeah.
And it's something it was like, yeah, we never went over this house. Are you kidding me? There are holes in the floor. And it's like, it smelled bad. I mean, she was saying this like, knowing that he's like a huge star. And I was like, that's how the Bruce I knew, the poor kid. So his self-consciousness is obviously there, with the freedom,
Yeah.
And then his father being, the father that he was.
Yeah, who's struggling with a kind of more challenging mental illness than Bruce would.
Sure.
So the outer manifestation is the abuse, but Bruce has described it differently. But like in the movie, there's one moment where it's like he's hearing voices, and that's a description that comes from Bruce's description.
It's got to be really good for Bruce to see that film if he has seen it, and
Well,
the way it resolves with his father.
I mean, if I can share this, I took my son Piero to one of Bruce's screenings early on. It was, Bruce is sitting with John Mellencamp on one side and his sister Virginia on the other, and Piero and I were just a couple of rows back. And at one point you see Virginia take his hand and just hold it the rest of the way, and that in and of itself was moving. We're later at Telluride, and Bruce is on the stage after the screening and describes that moment and says she took my hand, and at the end she leaned over and said, "This is good for our family." And to me it was like, I kind of didn't care what happened after that. Like, that's such a remarkable statement for someone represented cinematically. I find it deeply moving. But that's been, Bruce really helped with this movie. But I think there's, for me, there's some healing. But I think it's a kind of story that generates some healing. But like, my dad, I met, fewer than a dozen times. I was living 20 minutes from him for a couple years. I never saw him. My kids met him once, gave him my address, we never heard from him. That's my story. To watch this film with my sons, who know me like they do, to watch that story has been deep for us.
Mm-hmm. So it's a healing film, isn't it? It's the resolution with his father. Obviously you're crying in the film.
And that's a scene he brought. It's like, so the way this thing unfolded was, I got an email from a producer saying, I think your book could become a movie. And that's a very easy thing to say.
You hear a lot.
So I responded saying, like, if all you got is Warren Zanes, you have exactly nothing. Because you need life rights.
I think that's true.
And you need music clearance.
Yeah.
And I said, nonetheless, here's my Venmo.
That's always handy.
But he was very persistent and came back with his partner and said, would you take this idea to Bruce and to John? And I said, no. I'm not inner circle. I have a work connection with them, but if I'm going to ask a favor, it's going to be for me.
Sure.
Make no mistakes. Unless you find a name, a director, an actor, somebody they respect and know. And they went and got the director, Scott Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took Scott down to the shore. And we had a 3-hour meeting with Bruce and John.
So you're the intermediary there, of course. It's your book.
Yeah, so I did the intro, and then the next was, Scott wrote the script over a period of months.
Oh, he wrote the script.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. He's a writer-director. So we were talking like every day. Mm-hmm. And I just said, like, look, this is good for the Warren Zanes business. And I'm here to help.
Yes, I'm here to help. And here's my Venmo.
Yeah. And we talked a lot, and then the script was like ready to read to Bruce, and we did another drive down to Colts Neck, and we sat. It was like toward the end of the afternoon, and Scott read this entire script. Second time meeting Bruce, he reads the entire script, doing every character.
Oh no!
And I looked over at Scott and I went, "That guy is bold." And I like that quality. He's doing Bruce in front of Bruce. I'm not sure I'd do that.
I bet Bruce was really kind and attentive, right?
Well, here's what happened. Since it's late afternoon, the sun goes down, and nobody turns on a light.
Oh,
and Scott starts having to use his phone to read it. And we're in a dark room, It's a ghost story. It's just the light of that phone. And then at the end, Bruce said, "This is great." And he said, I got a few things I'd like to, throw out there. And he told the story about going to get his dad after his dad had been in jail. Going to find him in L.A. in Chinatown. And John Landau had not heard that story. And then he told the story about his dad saying, "Come sit in my lap." Like right there. Like just these are movie people.
So you mean in that dark room?
In that dark room.
That's when he told
it was like the next round of the script.
So he was ready to reveal things.
He was ready to collaborate.
You're really
with
in Bruce's life. It's got to be a great feeling. One thing I don't want to forget to mention is when he calls you up. And says, "Warren, I'm standing I finally found it. I'm standing in the bedroom where I made Nebraska."
Yeah.
And you said, "Is the orange shag carpet still there?" "Yeah, it is." So you go, you meet him there.
Yeah.
At some other point, and then he says, "Hey, Warren, would you take my picture?"
Yeah.
And he's such a regular dude.
Yeah. So John Landau was my first reader, and then he said, "Send it to Bruce." And then Bruce sent me an email, and at the end he was like, "How can I help you?" And I just said, "I can't find the room." Has anybody in here gone looking for Bruce Springsteen's home? A lot of people have. You can find them all. It's almost like maps to the stars' home.
Is that old house still there?
Well,
the grandparents' house?
Yeah, I mean,
it's still there.
I could find them all. I couldn't find the Nebraska house. So I said, "I can't find it." He calls that call from the house. He's like, "I haven't been here in 40 years. Same guy owns it who rented it to me. And he said I can bring you out. So come out to the house on Friday." And I go out to the Colts Neck house. Bruce is ready in the El Camino. And we drive to the Nebraska house. And I
what were you listening to Nebraska? That was
I sat in the car and I went, and I said, "Why is it cars of this vintage all smell the same?" Which he said, "It's a good question." He's like, "Maybe it's like oil leaks." I'm like, that makes sense. Then when I did
like a Tarantino scene.
Well, I love that you can have that conversation, like with a guy like that. It's like that's as good a question as any.
Sure.
You know, it's better than, "How did you feel when Born to Run came out?"
Well,
he doesn't want to hear that again.
But in the book you say that maybe he says or John Landau says it, that certainly Bruce, self-effacing and resisted the glare of fame. He was not resistant to it. Well, he was sort of resistant to it and a real purist. But nobody accidentally becomes a big star. They have to want it.
Yeah, Landau says that.
So it's like you can have a one-hit wonder accidentally, but to do what he did, he had to really know that he was great and wanted to be famous.
It's not that he didn't want stardom, it's that he had an ambivalence.
Yeah, he wanted his own kind.
Yeah, and there's a section on his relationship to Elvis Presley in the book, where Elvis, for a lot of people, became a kind of cautionary tale, like the price of fame. And so that ambivalence was kind of underpinned by this, rightful fear of the power of that kind of stardom. The number of people who stop being themselves when they get close to you. That's a huge population.
When you're at that level. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, you probably live in your youth family, your world is your band. It must have been the way you guys.
The bands get weird.
They always do.
I think that's why Landau is so important.
Landau is important as his guardian and his really his guardian and his supporter.
Because I don't know if anybody knows this about bands, but they can get jealous of one another.
Well,
A manager's
Yeah.
positioned structurally so that everything that's good for the artist is good for the manager.
Sure.
Within bands, everything that's good for the frontman isn't perceived as something good by all the band members. Thus, ruptures. They're such delicate organisms. But Bruce is a master. I gave him a list of what I would say are the 5 most important Bruce Springsteen records, which is I was obviously wanting to see what he said. It did include Nebraska, but it didn't include Born to Run.
Didn't. Wow.
No, and it did include Human Touch.
Oh.
And Human Touch is a record that's, it troubled many because it's not the E Street Band. He broke the band up,
Right,
and he makes this. And the reason I say it's among the 5 most important is we wouldn't have, in my view, we wouldn't have the E Street Band today if he didn't break it up. If he didn't, everybody had to step back and go through this difficult process to really go, what does this band mean to us? And no longer have it. And when they come back together, they've had that experience. Now, was that his plan? No. But there's something that he does in making these unpopular moves.
That always work out. The best.
If I weren't him, I'd say knock wood.
Sure.
Sure,
yeah.
But I think he's got radical intuition, and he's willing to have people look at him a little confused, disappointed, even mad.
Yeah, well, he's confident to take that.
Yeah.
Can I before I forget, can I point out this photo, Warren? Can you guys see it, or is the glare on? I don't know how it looks. This is a one-of-a-kind photo taken by our late friend Dennis Zentak, who was a New York photographer who would was one of the guys that would go into the show. He'd have his Nikon camera, and they'd always be coming around to bust you.
Yeah.
So he'd shoot, then he'd shoot. They take the film out and put it in his pocket and put it in a newspaper film. And if they came, he'd just give them the blank film. But when he passed, we were all given a photo, and so this is a shot that he took of Bruce. It looks like a sound check to me because there's no crowd and he's down in front of the stage. And I wonder how,
Can we guess the year?
well, I would like you to. I think it's the River Tour, right? Am I wrong?
Anybody out there feel qualified to venture a guess? I mean, that hair makes me say not the River Tour.
Not the River Tour, yeah.
So like 78.
Yeah.
I'd put it later than that. I think he's more close cropped. I might be making too much of the hair. I'm gonna put it in the 90s.
The 90s? I don't think so. I don't think so, but I don't know.
I just want to see if I could unsettle
The
people.
90s,
but
man.
the hair to me says
I mean, you should know.
I am not. I get hair wrong all the time.
Let's do it.
I set you up.
That was a good one. But it still is a great shot of just one of the greatest of all the greats, man.
Yeah,
And it hangs above, my desk. The Bose monitors. What does that say? Is that a more recent thing?
That for me is an old.
It's an old thing. Okay.
The Palladium. Yeah, 76.
Ah.
yeah.
Well, he looks pretty darn young. I saw a video of an Asbury Park show from 2024. Sounded freaking good. The whole band.
Yeah.
He did the song that I'm gonna do later, and it's just mind blowing still. He's still the man. Okay, we're good. Oh, good. So people are saying, super interesting, great conversation. So they're thanking you there for that.
Thank you.
I wanted to see if there's something that was. Well, I definitely want to
Yeah.
ask you. Like,
We didn't get all the way into the room on that story of going to the Nebraska room. And
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
this-
please.
One thing I
Yeah.
just love to share is, so we're driving over there in the El Camino, and I've been sitting in a room writing by myself for a couple of years, and now I'm going to be going into the room that I've been writing about with the guy
yeah.
who was in that room who I've been writing about. And it's just, this is big stuff for me. But the guy who's renting who rented the house to Bruce, who owns it, is a collector of Americana. He's a collector of cars, Americana. And he's got these cannonballs associated with one of the ships that George Washington was on. So Revolutionary War, I can't remember if it was cannons, cannonballs, but he knew Bruce was coming, so he's giving them to a museum in Philadelphia, and it's a big day for them. These are among his treasures, and he's donating them. And but the guy times it wrong. So these Philadelphia museum curators who are incredibly excited about George Washington's cannons are in this rural place in New Jersey, and the door opens and Bruce Springsteen walks in. And I got to watch their faces. And so before I got to the magic of being in the room, I had that experience of these guys they didn't have words.
Come on, man.
Like, does this happen all the
Does
time?
this always happen?
But then we got into the room, and I think Bruce is saying, "Take my picture."
That's amazing.
I think it was partially because I was like levitating. It was a heavy experience, and he's described these rugs to me, and like there they are.
I wonder if it's the same bed.
The furniture's changed.
Furniture's all
There's
changed.
a fair amount of crap in it that wasn't there.
Right, but the carpet's the same. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
the layout's the same. We went back again during location scouting, so I got to revisit it. In the shooting, my one request, because I didn't think I was going to be on the set all the time, which I did end up being there every day. I thought initially I just wanted one thing, and that was a moment alone in the recreated room.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I just wanted, just like I got to go with Bruce to the real room, I'm like, wow, this is really happening. Like, this is going to become a movie. And I just wanted that moment to digest it. And, because these are sacred spaces where, I talk about this in the book, like, the places where these works of art were made are haunted in a special way, and it's a privilege to go to them. Like, I want to be in the room where Moby Dick was written.
Sure.
There's something there that we can experience.
We went to, I don't know if Jim Mastro's here, but we went to Sun Studio, and we were on the road with those guys. It's, some of the same microphones are still there. The same microphones, the same tape machine, the same control room glass that they look through. It's like, well, hell yes, there's ghosts there.
Yeah.
You can just feel it.
Yeah. Material culture can have a spiritual component.
Well, I agree. And that used to be, that would definitely not get you uninvited to dinner parties saying all that kind of stuff. But I agree now it's pretty clear that something's going on. I don't know.
We're in a store with 5 Ouija boards. Like,
wow. That's. I wonder what 5 will do together.
the
make a
new
pentagram.
age is here.
Well, let's do at least a couple more songs before we end the night. You got another song?
Yeah, this is like an early one. When I asked So Bruce just went and recorded Nebraska in sequence at the Count Basie Theater. Something he'd never
Oh, he
done.
did?
Yeah. When you get the box set of the Electric Nebraska, you get the film of him sitting in an empty Count Basie Theater, and he does it in
just him.
sequence. He has Charlie from the E Street Band doing like the glockenspiel parts, and then Larry Campbell doing some of the overdubs.
Larry Campbell, yeah.
But you don't see them. You see Bruce, and what they do is just very minimal. But when I asked Bruce about that, I said, when you go into those songs, do you feel a tenderness for the guy who wrote those? And said, what I feel is how young he was, and how complex the songs were. And that was part of the Mojo interview I did with him. But this one, I do not know where this came from, because I don't know the me then that well. I feel like the same person, but it's like, obviously, you go, this is for anybody. You create something, a couple decades go past, and it's like the distance.
It was made by someone else.
Kind of, but it's a little portal into who was that person, which is kind of, I love that about songs. But anyway, so I called this one Scrapbook, and give me room to fuck it up, by the way. But the idea was like, geez, I'm the son of a photographer, and my mother would go to make money, go take pictures of families, and who takes a picture where people look pissed off? You don't take pictures of them fighting. You don't take pictures of someone, throwing the skillet. And so the song idea was like, well, maybe our scrapbooks should have it all in there, so that we can really look and see where we come from. And maybe that's a better way to learn from where we come from, and not do it again.
The book of mistakes, the big book of mistakes.
You can have the happy moments in there, but it's like, let's put it all in there. Oh, sorry, I gotta get the first line.
You're doing great.
No, I gotta get it right, because there's an appropriate build. Look at my phone. Shit. Can I listen quickly?
Sure.
You have no editing capacity.
No, we're live. That's okay.
Yeah. Can you ask them if they would forgive me for doing this?
Oh, they will forgive you for anything. Absolutely. You're fine. We can mention that, you can check that out. Next week, Phil's house?
Yes.
Phil Hewitt's house, yeah, we're gonna do the gig there. I'm gonna play my songs. No guest.
You just
Yeah,
buy me some time.
I'm
buddy.
buying you some
Buy
time.
me some time.
So there was I'm gonna play a Bruce song later, after Warren's song. That when I first heard it, I think it was still the most influential song I ever heard. Maybe I don't know.
Come back.
Yeah. Okay, well, Warren's learning his own song. That's pretty funny. You don't get this stuff on network TV. And he wants to get it right. It's a Bruce-like dedication to getting it right. Let's put it all in there. Your favorite words. Yes.
to the tired stare that only you could do. Let's put it all in there for you. Let's put the things you stole when you thought no one saw, and something strange took hold, your little fingers grew. Let's put the pictures that you drew. Let's put the day we met, the way the trees were bent, because the wind it blew. Let's put it all in there. Let's put the faces that you knew. Let's put dark and let's put light. The car we bought, you bent it. Apartment rooms with fatal flaws. Hey, you know if everything is through, let's really lay it bare. Let's put it all in there. Let's put it all in there. Let's put the razor drop on the things we'd say that we was late to stop. Let's put it all in there. Let's put their faces at the door. Let's put the kitchen sink, the times you ran away, or when the neighbors came, because of all the noise. Let's put their faces at the door. Let's put dark and let's put light. The car we bought, you bent it. Apartment rooms with fatal flaws. Hey, you know if everything is through, let's really lay it bare. Let's put it all in there. Let's put it all in there. Let's put it all in there. It goes out with strings, but the thing I forgot to mention is that Emmylou Harris sings the harmony of that. Which, like, I used to, when I play it live, I'd say, you know, Emmylou sang the harmony on this, and I'd like to bring her out and everybody cheered me.
But I
I'd
can't.
like to. Yeah.
But I can't. That's a great song.
Yeah, I mean, I like the kid who wrote that.
Yeah, right. Of
You
course
know?
you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a very complex, lovely song. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very nice. I gotta hear the recording of that.
Well,
It's not as good as that performance, Brady.
I'm sure it's not.
well, I'm gonna play a Bruce
Song. Which I've never done before. And it's certainly the hardest song to play. But it's my favorite. When I first
Was this was Born to Run your first Bruce record?
Yes, I'm from Kansas, and so
Yeah.
we it's only when it hit the national press really.
Yeah.
You know, when Born to Run was out, and you know Steve Simmels in the Stereo Review was writing about it as the greatest thing in the world, so I had to listen to it. And I admit this now. Well, first of all, I want to apologize, Bruce, that I implied that you smelled bad when you were a kid. I don't want that to be thought of as real. When I said that, that's what she said. But I just had to qualify that. Anyway.
Can I just say never qualify things because it means saying it twice?
Oh, it's true. That's a good point. But I just love Bruce so much. I love that guy. I didn't want it. But so when my town, you know, is 1,500 people or so. When a friend moved from California, a guy moved from California to our high school, he had this cassette of Born to Run, and I couldn't get into it at all. It had saxophones. I couldn't get into it. And so I was, during high school, I was way into Steely Dan and Elvis Costello and stuff, but I just couldn't get Bruce. And so then when I went to college for 1 semester, and then I dropped out, and I lived with, as what happens with musicians, I lived with my girlfriend, you know, and she had Born to Run. And when I first really listened to it, that's when I really first listened to it. And I just remember crying. You know, because how could I have discounted this, you know? I guess I just needed to go up a couple years. But especially the song Meeting Across the River was so shocking. I never heard a song so kind of accomplished. It's like a short story that each line gives you so much background. And the protagonist clearly isn't going to wake up in the morning. And, you know, neither is Eddie. And you just know it. But it's just like, you still want him to, but it's just the writing is just beyond. Yeah. And then I tried to learn the keyboard song. Then it's like all the black keys, so you can't play it on guitar. But I'm gonna play it now if I may. Because it's a beautiful song. Now, it has a lead line, but you don't want to get into that stuff, I know. These chords are just beyond. You won't say anything, 'cause this guy don't dance. I know it's been past it, this is our last chance. We gotta stay cool tonight, Eddie, 'cause man, we got ourselves out on that line. You're carrying a friend. Remember, just don't smile. Change your shirt, 'cause tonight we got style. Sherry says she's gonna walk, 'cause she took the radio and hopped it. But any man, she don't understand that $2,000's practically sitting right here in my pocket. And tonight's gonna be everything I say. And when I walk through that door, I'm just gonna throw that money on the bed. Just see, this time I wasn't just talking. Then I'm gonna go out walking. Yeah. Can you catch us a ride? What a beautiful song.
The word bold has been used.
It's
that was bold.
It was bold. Yeah. I hope I didn't faceplant.
No, it's kind of amazing to go into it this way to feel the complexities of it, and it brought me back to when I would listen to that record in New Hampshire as a preteen, and then I'm gonna go out walking like that.
It's so heavy.
Yeah, and what is I thought about that so much, like those moments when you go through whatever the ordeal is, and then you go out for a walk. And we were country kids, so I took a lot of walks, but the longing is so palpable.
The music. Of course, the music has so much power. I imagine other lyrics would be, other lyrics wouldn't be just as good as that music, because the lyrics are so perfect. I think about the ghost of the unnamed narrator walking the streets. I still do. I mean, it's a thing. I'm sure you do it. You're right. I have this, like I wonder what happened to Stephen Dedalus after he took off down the alley in the dawn. I think about it a lot. Like, I bet he did this and this and this. And you get that involved in the story. You feel like you know them. They must have done something. So I feel like with these guys, like, I don't think Eddie stayed cool, and I don't think it went well,
But if I can, I don't want it to sound artificial, but this theme of not wanting to lose your characters. That's what you're describing. You build the relationship.
You don't want to. It's like Bruce with his character.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like once you form this attachment with these fictional characters, it's no fictional attachment.
It becomes in a certain way more real, which makes some sense because it's something you can really own and control, and so you feel like you know it better. Like that's why they have Bloomsday, right? Because people feel like they know those people.
Yeah.
And they know them more than their friends. They probably do know them more than their friends because the characters don't really have any secrets. They've already revealed them all.
Yeah, concerts are remarkable things to me. Like when you go to a Bruce show, everybody's kind of there to celebrate a very personal relationship to the music, but it's done as a collective, and everybody knows that the person next to them has their personal relationship. I think that's where it becomes, a near religious event.
I think there probably is a religion for some people. There will be a religion of Bruce, but Bruce certainly was singular to me. In American rock and roll, he was a hinge, a singular hinge, and was kind of unassailable with his integrity. It seemed like, that I couldn't imagine him doing anything wrong. But of course, nobody's like that.
When I was doing my Tom Petty book, Petty was describing. I put it in the book. Petty had just gotten his first Camaro, and Bruce was in town, staying at the Roosevelt Hotel, and he called Petty up and said, "Let's hang out." And so Petty drove his Camaro down to the Roosevelt and got Bruce, and they went to Tower Records on Sunset and got 5 8-tracks. And they drove until they'd listened to the last of them. But one of them was the Stones' 12 by 5. And Petty said when the song Congratulations finished, Bruce raised his hand and said, "You can take me now." and Petty said, "I always loved that." But then I asked Petty, I said, "Would you ever have a night off and call Bruce to hang out? I mean, would you do that kind of thing?" And he said, "No." I said, "I think that's a special quality." And Petty agreed. But not everybody has it.
You can't learn it.
Yeah, let's go and I got a night off. Let's go maximize it.
Well, not to go on too long, but when you were here talking about the Petty book, the poster for which is right there, fantastic book. You talked about, was it Bob? Yeah, Bob called up Tom. It's one word, one name guys. Bob called Tom from a bar, and Jeff and Jim and George were all there hanging out, right? And they were drinking, and Bob's like, "Come on out, Tom," and Tom was like, "Can I bring my wife?" And I think and Bob's like, "Come on, man, it's a boys' night." Like, all right, now I'm gonna stay with me. It's like Bob Dylan calls me up to have beers, I'm going. And I guess Tom Petty is not, That was a beautiful moment. It's how these guys, they're just regular dudes, they just happen to be incredibly influential and talented.
But here's one thing I would say is Bob's in a category of his own.
Bob is his own Bob, yeah.
Yeah, like when I did the Petty book, the deal was that I in Tom established the terms of this, was that I would give him the manuscript when I was done, and he wouldn't ask me to take anything out, but he would just ask that I make space for him to respond to anything. Wow. And I said, fair deal. But then he gets the manuscript and he said, there actually is one thing I want you to take out. And it was about Bob Dylan.
Oh, wow.
And when he pointed to it, I said, that's not even from our interviews. That's from a magazine, and it's already been published. And he looked at me and said, well, I got away with it once.
Was it disparaging to him?
You wouldn't even notice it as
okay.
disparaging. It was so like, seriously? But that's Bob. But Bob's up here. I don't even remember. It was so like, that's funny. But there's a sensitivity around Bob for all that Bob has given.
Sure. And, well, it continues to. Bob is hilarious now. He's,
I don't know. I'd say hilarious.
I know hilarious.
Paths might diverge right here.
Well, you know him, but see.
I don't know him. No, I've never met him.
No. But I've seen him before when the show was like I didn't recognize one song. And then I was watching video of him pretty recently, and he's just yucking it up on stage and just playing his ass off. I mean, at this stage, you better be feeling that way. I'm not yucking it up. That's never going to be what Bob does. But.
Are you starting to get the feeling that we could go forever up here?
Oh yeah, we can go all night.
Because I was just like everything you said, like, oh, I got a story. But it is there. I was watching. Do you know Doug Lancia, the guitar player?
No.
He's in Bob's band now. But I was watching Bob on YouTube doing an intro of Doug, and Bob was like, he's played with the Rocket Man. he's played with the Boss. He's played with Maca. And yet, Doug hasn't played with any of those people.
He's just fucking around. That's
yeah,
so
don't.
good.
But wow, Bob Ever the Mystery.
That's so fun. He's a joker. See, I told you. Man.
Yeah.
That's a really good story. well, so how are we going to end this thing up? You've got one more song to end the night, or we're just going to say goodnight to the folks?
How long have we gone?
We've gone like an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should let him go. What do you?
Yeah. Well, let's do one more song.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here's one you really got to bear with me because this one's not. It's not really finished. And so, I've never played it for anybody, but my audience of one. But it starts being about this guitar. So this is a 1947 Gibson LG2. And the factory was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, just so you know. Sometimes I take this guitar here for granted. Built in 1947 Kalamazoo, made from the thinnest wood, and then if it don't still sound good, Most things just don't last like you hope they would. On eBay, I got a Model T in pieces. I put that thing together and it still worked. I didn't mind the grease, and the garage had some peace. From the house she left behind 3 feet east. Oh, someday you'll see, son, the things that can't be done. About a love that leaves you all alone beneath your quilt. One day you'll be a man with a heartbreak on your hands. I hope you turn to things you know have been well built. Because love is made to fall apart in pieces. No craftsman in any trade would sign his name today to the thing we celebrate through all the ages. So listen to me, boys. Take the heartbreak, take the joy. Do your work and come back home with all your wages. And when you know you have come through, may you be well built too. Love will break you down and make you just a little more like you. Love will break you down and make you just a little more like you. Warren Zanes. I had to be a little bit bold after meeting across the river.
That was awesome. Yeah, we needed to. Can you hear that? Yeah, there's some distortion there. You're right. Thank you, Warren Zanes. Very much. Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So we're gonna Warren's gonna sign some books if you guys want a book. So please stick around. Thanks a lot, and thanks to the folks out there.
Thank you.
We have some books up here. You can get
Oh,
some
sure, yeah,
and buy
yeah,
on your
oh,
way out. That's
Sure, that's
There's one in the back.
okay. Sure, that's fine. Yeah, thank you. I don't know what the heck is going on with the sound. That was a really fun show, man. We could have gone on.
Could have gone on. Oh my God. Oh yeah, don't forget to tip the band. Gonna let you. Yeah. Just have to shut that in case after the. Yeah, you can buy it on your way out because the books are up here.
So we should buy them here or buy them
Yeah,
there?
you can buy it on the way out of the store. Just call in. We've got some books up here. Rather than have to go.
like your setup. Can I take a picture of your mic?
Yeah, it's